Okay, so I'm just waiting for things to catch up. All right. Fantastic. So, welcome to another live stream. Let me open up Photoshop so I can talk and draw something at the same time so it doesn't just look like a frozen screen. I'm planning on getting a camera at some point so that you can see me and feel as though you're part of whatever is going on or whatever you call this. I guess I'm still trying to figure out what the hell this is. But it's fun. It's a good excuse to make art. And that's always good. That's really why I'm doing this. It's just an excuse to every week. Um, yeah, it's an excuse every week to create something new, as opposed to just doing all my work. So it's kind of like a cheat day almost, eating brownies instead of veggies. So I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do today. I have some idea, but in actuality, I don't know. And when I don't know what I'm gonna do, I usually open up alchemy. And I don't know if you've ever seen alchemy, but it's a really neat little program that allows you to make neat little shapes. And it's all based on, well, I don't know what it's based on, but it's, um, well, you'll see. So let's select something. And you see, look at all that. Look at all that craziness. And right off the bat, we have a lot of cool stuff to work with. Now the interesting thing about this program is that there's no way to undo. You just have to clear everything. So maybe speed shapes. Let's see what that gives us. No, I don't want that. I want something. Let's see, speed shapes. What does it do? So I want opaque lines like that, or opaque shapes. And I want transparency put down just a little bit so that we can have something like that. And let's see, effect. So I don't want to affect anything. And I mean, there's just so many cool different things you can do. So let's go ahead and maximize this. So it takes up the whole screen. And how's that looking on OBS? Well, I can't tell because I can only see OBS. Let's see. Speed shape, scroll shapes. What is a scroll shape? It's kind of neat. And you can draw right on top. Let's do pressure shapes. Yeah, that's kind of boring. Let's get pulse shapes. What is a pulse shape? Ooh. That's actually kind of cool. So this looks like this is pulling shapes from some kind of resource. And see, that's a pelvis right there. So what do we have here? What do we have? And let's go back. And let's see. What's X shapes? Oh, this is kind of cool. So this kind of looks like a wasp right here. So let's see. So I'm just going through and trying to create something cool that I can bring into Photoshop and use. Let's see. So these are all some cool shapes. Let's export this. And I'm just gonna throw this on the desktop. And oddly, this program only it only exports PDFs, which is something I still just refuse to get used to. And it seems to not want to respond. There we go. Oh, I shouldn't open up desktop. I think that's why it's slowing down. So let's see. Let's go to Adobe, Photoshop, live stream artwork. And let's call this Alchemy 01. Let's put today's date, 04/04/01, because I'm planning on making a couple of these. So let's clear. And let's do some more. That one's kind of cool. What about if we, let's see, inverse shapes? What does that do? Nothing. Pressure shapes? Nope. I like pressure shapes. Oh yeah, pull shapes is pretty cool. So pull shapes, this is where we get some interesting stuff. I like that. That's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. Let's see, trace shapes. Type shapes. Oh, we can get some cool stuff here. Like, almost like maybe there's some kind of like alien spacecraft or something. Ooh. Oh, Christ, now I can't get that shape back. Okay. Try some more. I don't like any of those. I'm just gonna do one more pass, and then we'll jump into Photoshop, so you don't lose your mind while I'm doing this. Let's see, and then let's do pulse shapes one more time. And what was that one? That was pretty cool. X shapes. Alright, let's go ahead and export this. We want to go back to the desktop, our documents. Adobe, come on. Be good, be good. Live stream artwork. And let's call this 02. Alright, so we have a whole bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and exit Alchemy. I think I just did something weird. Yeah, I accidentally opened up the camera. So actually, let's jump right into our folder within Documents and just open it from there, because that'll be a lot easier. So we have these, and that's right. With Windows, you can't open two things at once. Okay. So let's just say okay. So now when we bring our Alchemy file in, it comes in as this, which is, well, you know, kind of strange. Um, for one thing, the background isn't transparent, it's white, so we have to work with that. But you can't complain too much because Alchemy is a free program. And despite that weird hiccup, it's still a very nice program. So, just gonna take a gander at what we have here. So I like this guy. I think he's kind of cool. I like him. And let's see what else we may have. I like this sort of bug type thing. I thought that looked kind of cool. And I think, what else can we possibly grab from here? I think that's it, but I like this. That's maybe just like a textural element, maybe that'll come in handy. There's some interesting shapes here. Let's see. So I'm really building up a lot of stuff. Okay. All right, so let's jump right in. Now, one way to make this process go by a little bit faster. So right now you can't see everything because it doesn't give you it doesn't give you transparent PNG images. It doesn't give you transparent images. So what we can do is just put this on a multiply and then we can see everything. And by it, of course, I mean Alchemy. So let's take a look at our shapes. So this guy's a lot of fun. I think he almost looks like a, why is that happening? He looks like he almost has like a face there, right? Sort of bug, wasp type thing. And then these, maybe like a spaceship type object. So let's, yikes, okay. Let's see. I'm gonna start combining these just to see if we can't. Let's see. What if I turn this vertical? Okay, so we have something going on there. Let's grab this shape. Let's flip that vertical and let's put that on the back of our wasp creature. Can this be some sort of a wing? Let's see. Doesn't quite look like it. So I think that would be too weird. I'm trying to combine these two guys into something. if I take that and copy it over there. Doo-doo. It's kind of interesting. And then maybe, so this is looking pretty cool right here. I think I might roll with this. So let's see. I'm going to take this guy and so we have our shape here, and it's pretty cool looking. I can kind of see this as almost being like some kind of crazy almost like, let's see, let me see if I can draw it out, what I'm thinking. That maybe like some kind of character could be sitting in here, piloting this kind of crazy spacecraft. Okay. So, let's do that. Now, what is the best way to do that? So there are a couple different ways here. I can go in and just start painting, which I think I'm going to do. And let's take this, put him over there. So I can have two to work with. And just kind of checking it out from a distance. And one thing I want to do, and how are we doing? Do we still have that? Yeah, we still have all that white. So I want to get rid of all that white. It's a real bummer. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to select all the white. Turn down the tolerance to 0, so I only select the white. And just get rid of it. We can delete that guy and then drag this one back over. So now we have sort of our craft, right? And to kind of assist me in, that's a dog, in case you were just wondering. Let's see. I'm going to open up Lazy Nuzimi Pro. And I don't know if you haven't heard of this plugin for Photoshop, but it's incredible. It's got to be the best Photoshop plugin that's available. I didn't even know that Photoshop really had very many plugins, and then I tried this one, and it's just incredible. I mean, here, let me show you. So it has so many different functionalities. For example, we can do perspective, which is just so cool. So I can draw perspective lines. Let's see. think with this guy, so we can draw out lines along a fixed perspective grid. Now how cool is that? And now this just adds a whole lot of craziness. So this would be a little bit higher. So I'm going to match up. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to drop this to about 5, so we have really thin, nice lines. And that's almost lined up. So I'm just going to line up the top. So it looks like the horizon line is a little bit higher than the top. There we go. I'll make sure we're still on the same page here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to draw out a whole bunch of perspective lines to assist me in creating this. Cool. Let's call this perspective grid. Okay, we can turn off Lazy Nizumi Pro. I'll leave it docked on the side there because I'll probably want it again. I mean, it does so much that it doing just or the capability of drawing out perspective lines is just one very, very small thing this can do. This can actually draw out. Let's see. It can also draw out fisheye perspective, ellipse, connected lines. I mean, just everything. So let's see. I think within perspective, we might be able to do language, because I want to get like a 3-point perspective. I don't know if there's a way to do that. Let's see. I'll figure it out later. For another live cast. Okay, so I'm going to drop the opacity on this layer. So that's our main layer, our base layer. That's like our sketch, essentially. And let's see. So we want our guy to be in sort of a motorcycle position. Like he's, or she, is riding a motorcycle. So let's draw in some shapes. These can be sort of like more or less like the handlebars. And if he's sitting, that is more or less his position, right? And the leg comes down like this, straddling the side of this crazy machine. want the leg to be more off into the back, like that. Perhaps even more flexed. Let's see. That looks kind of dorky. Let's see, I think his head should be slightly, so I'm working with kind of big dramatic shapes right now. Because those are easier to work with than small little details. The other leg comes out right here. Cool. That's kind of neat. So one way I want to do this is I want to, how do I want to do this? So I can either go in and paint it, which is kind of a hassle, or I can actually, I could just go in and start drawing it out line by line, which is even more of a hassle. But since there's a lot of hard edges to this, I think it makes it somewhat trickier. So let's do this. I'm going to copy that. Copy that. Leave. Oop, where did my layers go? Yikes. There we go. So I'm kind of piling up layers here. Do a little cleanup. And let's grab these and just toss those below. Okay, so I'm going to leave our character just a little bit brighter or darker than the ship. Just like that. Maybe 75. Okay, so I just put the opacity of the ship at about 75. Make sure we're not losing our perspective grid, and I'm going to put those two layers together and go ahead and start painting in some slightly finer details. So let's go in and let's do this. $6.29. So we're still looking for our major forms. And I can't. Let's see. How might that work? So let's select a layer. And I'm going to go in can do is we can radiate outwards from our main guy. So this is when things kind of get a little tricky, is where do we begin? Because we have our shape and we like it and we don't want to lose it. But how do we flesh it out and not lose what we have and what we like? So this is the challenge that I have right now, is to maintain this shape. Let's grab a square brush. I don't think I like all that space up front. So if this is some sort of pod, it should have sort of like a round front. Maybe these things in the back are sort of, they're like sort of turning modules. They help it turn. And what happens if I get rid of that shape? Do we still like what we have? No, I think what we want is to keep that. So I think I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself here, and starting to look kind of silly. Let's see, so if I bring in these guys again, compared to what we have now, alright, so what we can do is we can just take this guy, and more or less just kind of pull him off to the side. Photoshop. And let's just be really loose with what we have. Let's see, let's take these. So it's like completely remove these things on the side. Until we have something like that, which also looks kind of cool. this is like some sort of kind of crazy engine thing here, which means it needs to be over here. And more engines back there. So I'm trying to figure out sort of like a flying ship. But now that I look at this, this almost kind of looks like some sort of spider, which could be pretty cool. Let's check that out. Let's mess around with that. So like a four-legged legged mech spider. And mechs are always fun. So let's go 60 so we retain some of our I think we can something like that. I don't like this kind of face in here. So let's do something. Let's get rid of it. So what is this thing? What does it do? So we're building up this shape, and I think we should, this, whatever this thing is, should have some kind of backstory. Well, not backstory, but a function, right? So this guy's up top, and he's looking pretty, like, what's the word? Poised in this sort of racing pose. So maybe this thing is a some kind of climber, because if it has four legs like a spider, I don't think it makes sense to make it like a really fast moving vehicle. So let's make these a little bit skinnier. So just cutting away, bringing stuff in, cutting away, bringing stuff in. And this should be more like that. Yeah. Just add just a little bit of something. So we have this. We have our little guy here, and we have our race pod. And I'm gonna go up here and fix our guy up a little bit. So I'm just kind of almost completely remove him. And more or less have him kind of kicking back a little bit, like he's some sort of farmer. Right? Know what I'm saying? Get his other leg up here. This arm. Cool. So now this guy is it's kind of like a, I'll see him as sort of like a harvester. That's what this thing is, some sort of harvesting vehicle. Industrial something, but what does it do exactly? How are we doing on time? 42 minutes. Not bad. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So let's take this somewhere else. So that's what we're doing right now. We're taking all these things into different directions. We're looking for a cool design. Let's say that we're in the what you'd call the blue sky phase of a project, where more or less anything goes. And it's the art director has literally just told you, all right, make something fun, make something cool, and that's your only job, is to make something fun and cool. And that's usually that's typically my favorite part of a project. Is well, of course, because it's very it's pretty low stress. It's a lot of work, obviously, because you have to work fast and iterate. But that's one of the main driving forces behind design is iteration. You need to iterate fast and efficiently, and come up with not as, I wouldn't say as many designs as possible, but a lot of designs. Because as coming up with, if you say come up with as many designs as possible, that kind of leaves room to come up with some not very good designs. So just working away here, just adding that guy over there to the other side. So now this looks almost kind of like a laid back, almost like a carrier of some sort, with it just sort of zooms around, and we can add maybe like a post-apocalyptic look by giving him some sort of tube in the back here. That's pretty interesting. But you see a lot of stuff in design these days where it's most of it is, everything has guns, and everything's got a gun, right? Just, like if I just took this here and added some sort of a blaster, then yeah, like, okay, that's a pretty Now we're getting somewhere. But you rarely see things these days which are just, you know, just a harvest vehicle or, you know, just kind of something cool. So that's kind of what I'm trying to, that's what I'm going for here, is something a little less violent, I suppose. And all right, so let's see what we got. So we have our spider harvester. We have our kind of laid back zoomer. I don't know if you want to call it a zoomer, sort of a speeder. And this actually looks pretty cool. Actually, so I can't think of much more to do with that one. So let's make another one. I want to get rid of this because I don't like that. It kind of reminds me of the Fifth Element part with the, well, you know, the infamous opera scene with the woman in blue singing. Or not the woman in blue, I guess she was just completely blue. Right, so let's see. What else can we do here? Maybe make these guys a little bit larger. Let's get a little bit more extreme, because this is looking a lot like the other design that we just had. I'm not really sure what the hell that is. I don't like that at all. Okay, so let's turn this around and let's see how this is looking. Oh, at least the perspective is lining up. Let's see. God, I really don't like that. I'm gonna get rid of that here as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go into here and I'm actually gonna start carving out some of these forms with lines, and just really loose lines too. Nothing too sharp. I'm gonna grab a standard brush. Let's see. And you can turn back on Lazy Nazimi Pro, and I'm gonna just put on like a little bit of smoothness. Smooth out my lines a little bit. So this guy has some sort of like a mask. Let's see, a cool mask. we are not going to get too crazy with details here because frankly I'm still trying to figure out what this is and what this guy is doing, and frankly I'm hoping and expecting to arrive at something through this process, just jumping around well with some what's the word, with some idea of the direction that I want to go in, because luckily I have this drawing underneath. Let's see, let's get that line there, or the shape underneath. So what the hell am I saying? I'm basically just saying that I don't know what this is, and I'm hoping and expecting that through the process of sketching out, well, okay, I'll put it this way. There was a writer, I can't think of her name at this moment, but she once said, if you know, if you're stuck, if you have writer's block, right, and if you know which part of a story you'd like to write, then write that part first. And if you do, typically the other parts will follow, and maybe you'll get some sort of idea of what to do next. So that's what I'm doing right now is I don't know where to move next, but I do know, well, rather, I don't know the larger context of all this, but I do know what I'd like to do, which is just draw out some shapes. So maybe some kind of mechanical stuff going on in here. And maybe some sort of control panel. Almost kind of like a seat, right? Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like that. So it comes around. Now obviously a lot of this could be a lot cleaner, but like I said, we do not care. And one somewhat difficult thing that I want to keep in mind here is that I'd like to keep these details intact, but at the same time I'd like them to be functional as well. Like what is this part right here? Why is that there? What is its purpose exactly? And you know, it's easy to throw in a bunch of details and panels and the like, but keeping a sense of functionality and real worldness is where I think the real challenge comes in. it looks like this part, and also design too. You know, something looks good. You know, like a car, for instance. And cars look good, and but they also function really well. So how do you make something that functions, but also make it look good at the same time? And you know, I'm not an engineer. We're not engineers, unless you're an engineer and you're watching this. But so I'm using a lot of, I guess what you can call artistic liberties. Okay, so this is shaping up to be pretty cool. And I think for a lot of this stuff, I could actually go in and do some research on maybe some flying cars or engines. Because off the bat, I'm not too good with all that stuff. So maybe here, this is some sort of exhaust. You can almost kind of hear this thing, right? Let's see. And then we have our front piece here. Now if I get rid of the bottom, I like our silhouette better. So I'm going to stick the silhouette. Okay, now I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. So I'm going to leave that as is. And I'm going to go into our spider guy now. And I think I could actually take a lot of this drawing and bring it up into our spider design. And let's drop the opacity down to about 50. And go in and start making some changes. And if I end up staying with this spider design, I think that'll be funny because, you know, that's something that usually happens is you work and you toil away, and just because you think you need to make a bunch of design iterations, you do, but the design that you end up staying with is, well, one of the first ones. And I find that it happens with me quite frequently. I'll say, oh yeah, I need to come up with a bunch of designs because that's what we're paid to do. But then I'll usually go with the first drawing that I did. So just like some hints of complexity in here and cool stuff. And this is a pretty typical those little feet there. You see those a lot. But this design actually, I feel like this makes more sense. I can imagine this existing for, I don't know, some reason, at least. Like it has to climb up walls, like this guy's part of a mining operation, and this spider thing is responsible for it's like a scout machine. That's what I'm thinking. Is that this? Okay, here's the story behind this. This guy is an off-world miner, right? And in some of these locations, wheels don't cut it, but a spider would. Sort of like because spiders can climb with their legs. They can basically climb all over the damn place, right? So that explains the design of this spider. Is that this is used for arriving at really tough terrain that wheels just can't. It's cheap to create and easy enough to operate. Cool. Yeah, I like where this is going. I like our spider guy. Nice. So maybe we can actually put this guy into an environment. So let's see. Using our perspective grid, are we still on the right perspective? I'm not sure. But I think what I'd like to do is get some action into this. Just kind of have it moving forward, right? So I'm going to take the arms, or the legs, whatever you want to call them. Come on. Oh, Photoshop. Okay. Get our selection tool. And this can be more kind of curved back like that, because it's then mid step. And does that mean, so really quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that because that's actually not that important. I drew it pretty fast. Whoops. Okay, there's nothing there. So I have to go into the painting layer. So I have two layers here. This is kind of a weird approach. Let's see. So let's think of it like a dog, right? So dog's leg. We are on our painting layer. The dog's leg comes down to knee and then does this. So I'm thinking like right, something like that. Cool. But this, because it'll be digging into the ground, we want it to be sort of flexed forward into the ground, right? Like that. But let's make it a little bit bigger. Like so. Try to stick with our perspective lines. And it looks cool. So let's label this drawing. And under painting. Select our brush. We want to go back to drawing. Put that back at, what was I at before? That's nice. I got Lazy Nozimi Pro on again because it just makes everything a little bit smoother, which I really, really like and appreciate. Because drawing in Photoshop with a Wacom tablet is, I mean, even with a Cintiq, your line work always comes out just a little bit jagged. And it's always just a real bummer. So this Lazy Nozimi Pro really fixes that really nicely. Okay, this is getting a little zany back here. But I really like that. I am happy. I am happy. So is this going to be our underlayer? Yeah. So we have our our guy, our miner, essentially all fleshed out as much as I'd want him to be. And I'm relatively happy with him. So if I were to go in and erase that, would I miss it? Let's see. Just to kind of clean that up slightly. Doesn't need to be perfect, of course. Not yet, at least. And no, I do not miss it. So I want to put him in an environment. But what I'm questioning is whether or not this drawing is far enough along to do so. And I think my answer, or rather my answer is, I don't care. I can go ahead and begin a really simple background and not worry too much about how it all ends up looking. Just to put everything in the environment. And like I said before, maybe I'll figure out where to bring this guy because of adding the environment. So let's throw down a gray. Gray's pretty dark. A lighter gray. And I'm going to bring up the opacity on this. And I'm going to drop its highlight. And we're actually going to need some 3-point perspective action. Right? So I think what we can do actually is let's do real lines, perspective, ellipse, connected line steps, parallel lines. Let's see, can I, oh, there we go. So just setting up the perspective. Looks pretty nice. You know what I just realized? So what would make most sense? Showing off that this is climbing up difficult terrain is to put everything on its side. Am I right? I think I am. So let's save this, because I haven't even saved yet. Let's go documents. We're seeing all my archives. How personal. So I'm going to call this climber. Okay. So what I'm going to do, here it is, people. People. I'm going to make a new canvas. And I'm going to give it a height of 3,500 and 2,000. And that is untitled. And we can go ahead and put this into here. Let's see. Duplicate group, duplicate group. Yeah, duplicate group to untitled. And then we have our climber in here. Turn them on its side. Something kind of like that. Just trying to set this up. Good perspective. So let's get this working. Let's fill the background. And let's go ahead and start just painting in something. These are more or less our perspective lines. Okay, what am I doing? Let's see. Does this make sense? Maybe if he were up higher. And if everything were more like that. Okay. So I'm going to work for a couple more minutes and then call it quits. Because I like this. I think this is looking pretty cool. I'll have to do a little bit more work on the background to make it work, or to make it readable. And also our character here. He will have to make a little bit more sense. Maybe if I, or not more sense, but kind of fit into the scene better. And let's see, interestingly, my hotkeys aren't working again. So let's, why can't I? Oh, because this is a gray. Okay, I was trying to open up. All right, so what happened is everything is black and white. So I want to go into RGB color, don't flatten. And now I can select this and go into hue saturation and drop that. Okay, let's go in here and let's just add like just a little bit of a gradient. Starting from here, because I don't want to get too carried away with the image, and because you can get too carried away with sketching. That's one thing I noticed. So I want to keep it the least bit clean while I go in and still figure out what we're doing. But I like where this is, and I like the concept of it. I think the concept is pretty cool. But the interesting thing is we wouldn't have arrived at this concept, kind of like what I was saying before, we wouldn't have arrived here if I didn't add in, well, here's our alchemy stuff. Get rid of that. If we didn't add in our background, I wouldn't have thought of the idea of putting them on the side of a cliff, which I think is a lot more of an exciting image, but there's definitely a lot more work that needs to be done here in terms of figuring out the perspective and how the background is going to look. And also, of course, fleshing out the rest of this guy's armor and all that jazz. And in fact, I think I'm gonna move his arm so that it's a little bit closer up to the viewpoint, so that it's a little bit more dramatic, like he's really climbing up the hill. So let's actually do that right now. That'll be one of our last things. I'll flip that vertical. He's like a Sylvester Stallone and Climber. So that is bastante cool. Let's take our drawing. Let's flip vertical. And just kind of loosely toss it into place just to kind of keep the same visual language. So that also is going to have to change because that still is not playing well with the perspective. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on here, and at the moment I'm pretty excited about what this is going to end up looking like. So, but I think I'm done for today. It's been an hour and 30 minutes, and and it took an hour and 30 minutes to arrive at this point. So I'm gonna call it quits, and I will finish this some other time. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to finish this. I'll probably just finish it and then make a speed paint, because I think that's and record the process and then put that up on the web, because I think that's more interesting anyway, and a lot more fun. Of course, it's fun to watch this stuff live, and listen to me ramble. I mean, I don't know if that is fun or not, but yeah, you get the idea of how to create these kinds of things. And I hope you learn something. That's most important. But yeah, thank you for watching.